Punk Revolution now. And the mustache is shaved. Well, see how I'm getting used to it still. It's kind of a weird, like, I'm sure you're kind of feeling the same if you've been watching my videos. Like, what the heck? He's got no mustache. Yes, I'm still getting used to it. It looks weird. Am I just paranoid, or does this kind of look like it's still kind of there? Fun to change it up. Anyways, also speaking of changing it up, I also got a tattoo, which is still healing. Some cute little smiling flowers. So thank you for that. Punk Revolution now. Arcade Fire. Arcade Fire has released a new album. For someone who, like, has his first memories of getting into music, like I was getting into music around 2010. Arcade Fire, they were like the most influential band, period, in that era. 2004, they released Funeral, which is just a massive album. It's just a classic at this point. Surely going down in history as one of the greatest albums of the 21st century. They're just defining the indie rock kind of hipster, Canadian indie hipster music. And then their first three albums in general actually are pretty legendary at this point. Neon Bible and the Suburbs as well. I kind of feel like I don't even like these albums anymore just because they're so influential and so like overplayed. It's almost like a corny thing now to like Arcade Fire, but it's undeniably like influential and just good indie rock. They did take a shift in, I think, 2013, 2014 with their album Reflector, which brought in more like synth pop kind of stuff, which I really didn't care for that much. I mean, it was fine. I was already getting tired of Arcade Fire, and then they shifted into a genre I cared less about. I wasn't crazy about that, and then they had Everything Now, which was just kind of total ass, continuing that direction of synth pop, but getting even more corny, cheesy disco. Long story short, I haven't really given a crap about Arcade Fire in a long time at all personally, and then also musically, it just doesn't seem like they've been pretty, good as a band either for a solid decade, so my expectations for this are kind of really low, but they are Arcade Fire, they are a legendary band, they deserve our love and attention, so let's see what's going on in Wii, and I'll be open-minded. Don't be a dick, don't blow it off just because they're not cool right now, and just because they're old, we're not gonna be ageist. Alright, maybe we'll be a little ageist. Okay, let's take a look at the album cover. Well, that's an eye. It's just a big old eye with some kind of weird rainbow colors. Can I be honest with you? This to me looks like it's a poster or a book cover to some fantasy novel, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, or something like this. Is some like dragon beast's eye who is looking into the demon's death as the great warrior stabs him in the ass. Or something. It just looks real like Game of Thrones-y action poster. I don't really know what the heck's supposed to. What is this? What is it? I don't know. Whatever. It's fine. It's an eye. I'm sure it has something to do with anxiety. Like, oh my god, my eye is stressed. It looks like a stressed out eye. And Arcade Fire. If you are excited to listen to some rich white people who are super famous and have nothing to worry about in the world sing about having anxiety with the most bland lyrics of all time, I have good news for you, because the opening track here, honestly, the opening track, Age of Anxiety Part 1, I literally was almost not able to review this album because of how corny that is. They're incorporating into this song like as if someone's having like panic breaths. And they're incorporating that into the song musically, which sounds incredibly High School Musical theater. It sounds so corny, Broadway, cheesy, it sounds like a parody. And listen, I have anxiety. I have really bad anxiety. Lots of people have anxiety. I think it's perfectly okay and great to write a song about having anxiety. But, one, like I said, they're just like really rich, successful elites in society. Win Butler is like literally one of the most famous people of this generation, which is fine. Famous people can still have anxiety. But if you're gonna be a really famous, successful person who writes and sings about anxiety, you better have some more interesting lyrics than this song, which the lyrics are basically just saying, I have anxiety. You know how you're supposed to like really kind of, show it, don't say it. Get metaphorical, show some real, flesh it out with some real like story and get real in the details and get real with me. Get real with me. There's nothing real about this. The lyrics here are basically just telling you that he has anxiety. He doesn't tell you what he's having anxiety about. He doesn't tell you how it's manifesting in his life. He doesn't say anything interesting. It's literally just a song where the lyrics are basically, I have anxiety. Which, sorry, Win Butler, like I said, you're basically an elite, super famous musician with nothing to worry about. And you have nothing to say here. And the breathing It's corny as fuck. It's like as someone with actually really bad anxiety, I feel like this song is insulting to the anxiety community. I feel like this song is ableist. It's that bad because you just made everyone with anxiety look really bad. This whole album is peppered with a ton of cliche, corny lyrics that don't have really anything interesting to say at all. Honestly, this whole album is, I kind of just suck it up and get past the lyrics and just take it, you know, listen to it a little bit more charitably. When Butler's getting old, he's gonna be a corny, cliche dude. Everyone who gets old gets corny. It's fine. Get past the corniness and just focus on the music. I will say there's, you know, it's kind of interesting. I mean, this album is ultimately really just like 4 songs like split into part 1, part 2, part 1, part 2, part 1, part 2, part 1, part 2, which is, it lends itself to a very unique sort of song structures that really develop and build and kind of shift around. Sometimes the songs are going to be like chamber, indie pop, indie rock, kind of a little bit reminding us of their earlier albums. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit of like alternate synth pop dance music that gets kind of catchy too, which, like I said, you know, I prefer the indie rock stuff, but, you know, they also have that incorporated into their discography before, and they're kind of bringing it back too. They have some Heartland rock stuff and like The Lightning that has kind of this like Bruce Springsteen sound to it. They're kind of doing a lot of like art rock. They're doing a lot of different things. End of the Empire has a moment where there's like a melody in there that's just like da na 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 na. Sounds a lot like I'll Be Your Mirror by Velvet Underground, which, I don't know, it's like you can't just steal a melody, but let's let them steal a melody. They're getting old. They're forgetting that someone else already used that melody. That song kind of has like a David Bowie feel to it, the way it kind of like brings in these like kind of, you know, violins, this sort of orchestra art rock feel to it that gets real big and ambitious. You can also think maybe like Lou Reed, just like 70s art rock kind of feel going to it. Sometimes it even reminds me a little bit of like the Flaming Lips too. And I mean, there's a lot of really weird influences coming through in this album. I'm also hearing actually Radiohead, by the way, which this album was produced by Nigel Godrich, who is the Radiohead producer, who is obviously a fantastic producer, given that, well, Radiohead's production is fantastic. And the last song, there is like this part where Win Butler's voice kind of has like this sort of like echo to it that reminds me a decent amount of like the same kind of like echo delay that Tom York's voice has in The King of Limbs sometimes, so probably Nigel Godrich literally copy and pasted the same effect, so there's that. But I will say that my good friend on Twitter, Shade, did make a pretty interesting point about the mixing just kind of probably hurting this album overall, because it's like they're trying to incorporate that good old-fashioned indie rock chamber pop influence that made them so special early on in their discography, and it just doesn't hit the same way. It doesn't have the same magic, because you can just tell it's so extremely overproduced with like just layering all these instruments on top of each other. And sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's kind of fun to listen to it go from chamber pop, indie rock, Heartland rock, Bruce Springsteen, David Bowie kind of music into this kind of like dancey synth pop. You know, I gotta give them credit. That's like kind of a weird, interesting thing they're doing. But there's no, like I said, maybe it's because the lyrics are pretty bad. Maybe it's just because they just are not really putting together the most exciting melodies. I mean, sometimes even Win Butler's voice does sound a little pitchy at times even. Like, dude, you're getting old, man. Someone should have listened to this album and said, yo, Win Butler, Canadian motherfucker, these lyrics are ass. You gotta do something better. Like, it feels like someone should have told them that. It's an interesting album at the very least, the way the song structures are kind of broken out, and it does get catchy here and there. I do like in Age of Anxiety Part 2, it does have this kind of like like kind of, that's a pretty catchy melody, and there's some good melodies here. I will say that what's her name, Regina, the woman who's doing the singing on this album, she has a great voice. I wish she would have taken the lead on this album and done all the lyrics and stuff. That would have been a better album. Sorry. I had really frustrated times where I hated this album, and I had times where I kind of enjoyed it and had fun with it. Get past the corny lyrics. It's musically, it's at the very least interesting. They were trying to get more progressive with these strong song structures and incorporate more influences, but that doesn't take away from the fact that the songwriting ultimately is meh and the lyrics are bad. So I'm giving this a 6.7 out of 10, which is frankly higher than I thought I was going to give. I thought I was going to give, listening to Age of Anxiety Part 1, I thought I was, okay, this is a fucking 0. I can't do this shit. I cannot listen to this. But no, you gotta, as a music critic, you just gotta power through sometimes and be a little bit nicer. I'm realizing as I get older, I'm kind of an asshole. That just hurt. I'm turning 26 on Tuesday, tomorrow. I'm uploading this on Monday. Tomorrow I'm turning 26. Epic. Epic. 26 years old. I get to buy my own health insurance and don't have to. Oh, look at my cute little tattoo. I get to buy my own health insurance and I don't get to use my parents anymore. Yay! It's a little thing called Americans. Literally, you have to work and pay a lot of money for healthcare or you will die. So that's fun. So yeah, life's good. No, it's all good. I'll be okay. You know, just I have that big ball problem, which insurance is mad at me. It's gotta get my ball reduced every 3 months. Thanks so much for watching. Arcade Fire, weird, huh? Arcade Fire released an album. That's weird. Let's be real. We're all gonna forget about this Arcade Fire album in like a month. All right. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Always appreciate all the views and likes and subscribes. It means a lot to me as always. Thanks again for watching. Please have a great day. 26 years old tomorrow. Punk Revolution now.